As football fans, we know how important it is to dominate the battle of the trenches, to stifle the running game, to get pressure on the quarterback, and that all starts with a team's defensive line. However, that positional group for Nebraska this year has a lot of problems, to say the least. So in today's video, we're going to figure out how good the Huskers defensive line really is using advanced statistics, advanced graphics, film, and so much more. We're going to go over every single Nebraska player in this unit, the pros in their game, the cons, my honest expectations for them in 2025, and everything else you need to know. So really quick, this is a jam-packed deep dive. You're going to want to watch the entire thing because it is nuts. Hit that like button if you're fired up. And also, if you're a diehard Nebraska fan and you're not subscribed, what are you waiting for? If you enjoy daily content, talking your favorite team, talking Huskers, it's a no-brainer. Takes 2 seconds. Hit that subscribe button. Join the family. Thank you so much. But without further ado, let's get into it. Having a truthful conversation about Nebraska's defensive line going into 2025. The majority of Husker fans, they're very optimistic about this roster. The wide receivers are the best they've been in over a decade. The quarterback play is very improved. The offensive line is very improved. However, you can't say the same thing about the defensive line. Nebraska replaces just about everybody. They lost multiple players to the NFL draft, graduation, and the transfer portal. And for that reason, it's a completely fresh and brand new room. And there are a lot of problems. There are a lot of concerns that we'll talk about as the video progresses. But I want to get things started with, in my opinion, the best returning Nebraska defensive lineman. I'll give you a guess. Who do you think it is? This is none other than Mr. Cameron Lenhardt, starting 3 technique for the Big Red, going into his 3rd year for the Huskers. Listed at 6'3", 275 pounds, played a lot as a true freshman. And for that reason, going into last year as a true sophomore, he had a lot of expectations. A lot of people thought Cameron Lenhardt would break out to be one of the better 3 techniques in all of the Big Ten. And unfortunately, he just didn't live up to the hype. Only had 16 total tackles, half a sack. And when he was on the field, which wasn't much, he was on the milk carton. Just didn't feel like he was making any plays, especially in the pass rush department. So he just didn't live up to expectations, only had a grade of about a C. But despite that, the first thing I'll tell you about Cam is that just because he didn't live up to the hype last year doesn't mean he's not going to live up to the hype this year. I expect Cameron Lenhardt to be a breakout player on this defensive line, to be the biggest name that we have, potentially become one of the better players on this defense, period. There's a couple things to Cameron Lenhardt that he does very, very well. Let's go to the pros and the cons in his game. He's right off the bat the best run stopper on this D-line. It's not even a question. Great motor, great leverage, great play strength, fighting through double teams. He's a black shirt through and through. He earned a black shirt as a true freshman, which is pretty much unheard of. He's the only returning black shirt on this defensive line not named Elijah Jeudy. He has great IQ. He's a leader on and off the field. He has great experience, which is crazy to say. He's only going to his 3rd year, but he's one of the more experienced players on this defensive line, which kind of tells you a lot of the concerns that we'll talk about as this video progresses. But he is experienced, and he's a guy coming from the East Coast. He wants to lay the boom on you. He wants to hurt you. You like that mentality from a Nebraska defensive lineman. But, the cons are very evident. While the pros are pretty much him in the run-stopping department, the cons are him in the pass rush. He just can't get to the quarterback consistently. Only had half a sack last year, 3 sacks as a true freshman. He needs to change that this year. In order to take a step forward, he needs to become a consistent pass rusher. He needs to use his swim move, use his bull rush, beat Big Ten tackles consistently. So that's a real big thing that I'm looking out for Cameron Lenhardt, getting to the quarterback at a high level. And then talking about consistency, that's one of his big issues too. When it comes to Cameron Lenhardt, there will be games where he has multiple TFLs, multiple tackles in the backfield, a sack here and there, pressures here and there. And then the very next game, he won't do anything. He'll be on the milk carton. It feels like he's not making an impact at all. I need Cameron Lenhardt every single game to make his impact felt. Need him to be very consistent. Then, Cameron Lenhardt, while he was a former 4-star, not the most athletic guy in the world. Agility's kind of a thing there. And for that reason, I don't think he has the highest ceiling. Like, Cameron Lenhardt's probably not going to be a 1st-round pick if everything goes right for him. And that's okay. That doesn't mean he can't be a great player. But, just for all intents and purposes, he's not the most athletic guy in the world. But it doesn't matter. He can still be very, very productive for Nebraska. So this defensive line has its issues, and we'll talk about it as the video progresses. But Cameron Lenhardt is somebody who I'm very bullish on. I think he's going to take a step forward. I think he's going to break out in a big way, like the coaching staff talked about him, and for good reason. We heard a lot of good things, in summer workouts, in spring workouts as well, in spring ball, in fall ball going into this year. So Cameron Lenhardt, I think the pass rushing is going to be a lot better for him. I think he's going to continue to develop himself as a leader. His body is the best it's been since he's been on campus. For that reason, let's get into my statistic prediction for Mr. Cam Lenhardt. I'm expecting 30 tackles on the year, 10 TFL, 6 sacks. Yes, you heard me correctly. And then last but not least, 2 fumble recoveries, earning him all Big Ten honors, whether that's 3rd team, 2nd team, I don't know. He's just going to be on one of those lists. So Cameron Lenhardt is somebody who I think is going to break out, and going into 2026, his senior year at that point. He's going to be one of the better returning defensive linemen in all of the conference. So feel really good about Lenhardt. It's just a bunch of ifs. We've already seen him play a lot, but can he take that step forward? That's going to be the theme of this entire defensive line, not just him. But I'm very bullish on Lenhardt. I think he's going to play well. I really do. Like him in the run-stopping department. Not an issue. It's just about can he develop in the pass rush. That's what I'm looking out for this season. So, not bad. Not a bad start there. Lenhardt's a very good player. But who's the second best player on this defensive line? I'll give you another guess. I'm going to go with Riley Van Poppel. Also going into his third year, he redshirted in 2024, only played in 4 games. For that reason, only had 3 tackles. But when he was in the ball game, in those 4 games, he made his impact felt. He was very productive. 6'5", 290 pounds. I expect Riley Van Poppel to be our starting nose tackle this year. So the thing about Riley Van Poppel is he has the positional flexibility. He can play both 3 technique and nose. I like him a little bit more at nose. But the main reason why he redshirted last year was simply because they want him to be like Ty Robinson. They compare him to Ty Rob all the time, and they said, you're going to be Ty Robinson maybe in year 3, year 4. You're just not going to be that way in year 2. And your body is not right. You have a lot of bad weight on you still. We're going to transform your body. You're going to put in a lot of conditioning. And then going into year 3, you're going to look like Ty Robinson. And for that reason, you're going to play like Ty Robinson. So that's why they redshirted him last year. He played a lot as a true freshman as well. Guy who has high potential, was a former 4-star. Let's get to the pros and cons of Riley Van Poppel, who I expect to be our starting nose tackle. Pros are pretty evident. Size is great at 6'5", very healthy player throughout his high school and collegiate career. Block shitting is great. Can stop the running back. IQ is really, really good. Potential's through the roof. I think when it's all said and done, I've said this before, I think Riley Van Poppel can be a lot better than Ty Robinson when it's all said and done. I think he could be a first-round pick if he lived up to potential. Second-round pick. Ty Robinson was only a 4th-round pick. We talk about Ty Robinson like he was untouchable. He's really not. Like Riley Van Poppel, I think can be just as good, if not better, very quickly here when it comes to Ty Robinson. So I think, he has very good potential, great in the run-stopping department, and that versatility that we just talked about is very, very good. Now, the cons when it comes to Riley Van Poppel are also pretty evident. The explosiveness isn't great, just like Ty Robinson, where he is very athletic, but just doesn't jump off the line of scrimmage. Leverage isn't great in the pass rush. The pass rushing in general is not awesome. He can't get to the quarterback at a very high level. And then productions is something that's a big question mark with him and a lot of these other players where, yes, he has all the potential in the world, but you look at the production from last year and 2023, despite him not starting, just not there. And it's a lot of ifs. If he can break out. Can he break out? I don't know. But Riley Van Poppel is somebody who I'm bullish on once again. Former 4-star. I think is going to take a big step forward to be kind of like Ty Robinson at that nose tackle spot. Let's get to the statistics for him this year. I'm expecting Riley Van Poppel to have 25 total tackles, 8 TFLs, 3 sacks, and 1 forced fumble, earning him breakout honors on this team. So, not crazy statistics here. Not going to earn him any honors nationally, but it's going to be a very, very productive year, and he's going to be very hyped up going into his junior year in 2026. So, Riley Van Poppel at that nose tackle spot. I feel good about him, but once again, just a lot of ifs. Now, let's get to the last starter on this defensive line, and we run a 3-3-5, so we have 2 3 techniques and 1 nose. The last one, in my opinion, will be Keona Davis going into his second year, 6'5", 275 pounds. Man, as a true freshman, he was special. Played in almost every single game, had 10 tackles, earning him a grade of a B+. The second he got on campus last August, the coaching staff, they started talking reckless. They knew they got one of them ones. They called him Ndamukong Suh, and, for all intents and purposes, I don't want anybody being compared to the Suh. He was the greatest defensive lineman in the history of college football. You just don't show up and get comparisons to Suh. That shouldn't happen. But that tells you how high Keona Davis' ceiling is. If everything works out with him, he has the potential to be a first-round pick. He has a great motor, man. He's an athletic freak. He's super big. He's super tall. He's phenomenal. He's a great pass rusher too, at least in practice, but we really haven't seen that yet on the football field against Big Ten opponents. So out of all the starters on Nebraska's defensive line, the 3 that I project, Keona Davis has the best ability to get to the quarterback. But once again, just like the rest of these guys, if Keona Davis can break out, just like if Riley Van Poppel can break out, if Lenhardt can take that next step, and that's the story of this entire defensive line. It does not really get better from here. There's a lot of ifs going forward. So those are the 3 guys I expect to start. Let's get into the depth because, man, it is nuts. There is a lot to talk about. Let's get things started with Elijah Jeudy, who is going to be in competition with Riley Van Poppel to start at that nose tackle spot. Some people might think he's going to start. We'll see. We'll see on that one. But Elijah Jeudy, somebody last year of eligibility, former 4-star recruit, transferred from Texas A&M, 6'3", 290 pounds. I think honestly, one of the more disrespected players throughout his time in Nebraska. Like when he's on the field, he makes his impact felt. Nose tackle is not a position where the stats are really filled, but he had 13 tackles last year, 1 fumble recovery. I thought he was almost just as good as Nash. Like Nash really didn't live up to expectations last year. If Elijah Jeudy can be that 4-star that he was hyped up to be coming out of high school, even like semi live up to those expectations, I think he can replace Nash's productions pretty easily. Like Nash just wasn't phenomenal last year. He just wasn't. He was an undrafted free agent for a reason, and for that reason, I also think that Elijah Jeudy can pretty much replace him. But I don't expect Elijah to start just because I think Riley Van Poppel's ceiling is that much higher. But Elijah Jeudy, just solid run stopper, eats up double teams. That's all I really ask him to do at that nose tackle spot. Then let's talk Nwaneri. This is the guy everybody's been waiting to talk about. Former 5-star recruit going into his second year, was a 5-star, 6th best player in America, number 1 defensive lineman, 6'5", 275 pounds, freak athlete. Nwaneri, without hyperbole, has the potential, keyword potential, to be the first overall pick in the NFL draft. With his freak speed, athleticism, long arms, he checks all the boxes from a scouting standpoint. Like if he were going to the NFL Combine tomorrow, he would blow some people away with all of his raw traits. I'm not worried about that when it comes to Nwaneri. I've made my point very clear. The only thing I'm concerned about is Nwaneri from Monday to Friday. Because I've told you guys this story in the past. One of my good cousins, he goes to Missouri, and I asked him when Nwaneri transferred to Nebraska, hey, what happened there? Because he's very, very locked in with that program. And he said, Nwaneri, he just wasn't bought in. He was showing up late to practice. He was late to the bus rides. He did not want to be there, didn't have a good mentality. And it was pretty evident at the end of the year he was going to transfer. Nwaneri just didn't want to be a Missouri Tiger. Now, does he want to be Nebraska Cornhusker? I think he does. I think in a new scenery, he's going to do a lot better. I'm not really worried about those issues that he had last year, but it should be noted that he wasn't necessarily the best teammate as a true freshman. Maybe a little bit entitled from being a 5-star. It happens. But with him being a new surrounding, with him being with the high school coach Jamar Mosey, new defensive line coach Terry Brown, who is a no-nonsense type of guy, I think we're going to get the best out of Nwaneri. And we've already heard some good things about him in spring ball, breaking out. He's the best pass rusher on this team already, which isn't necessarily a great thing. But listen, I think Nwaneri, I don't expect him to start, even though he did break out in spring ball. That doesn't mean he's not going to be a productive player. He's going to get on the field a lot, mostly in third down situations. And if he can become kind of like a James Williams for us, a better James Williams, I think as the year progresses, he has the potential to potentially start. So we will see that when it comes to Nwaneri, but it's all about him from Monday to Friday, not him on Saturdays. That's the only thing I am looking at when it comes to him, because the potential, it will speak for itself. The traits will speak for themselves. If he does everything right for practice, for lifting, academics-wise, he's going to be just fine. Then let's talk Jaylen George, transfer from East Tennessee State, somebody who was an FCS All-American, was an all-conference guy, had 33 total tackles last year, half a sack, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 6'2", 260 pounds. Now, Jaylen George is somebody, when he committed to Nebraska, and I know this because I made a video about him, the fan base, they were not very hyped up. They were like, who is this guy, FCS player? Why did Nebraska take him? But it was pretty evident early on in winter conditioning that he was working out. Like, he was very athletic. He was making plays. He was a leader already in this defensive line. But unfortunately, at the end of winter conditioning, he got banged up. Did not play at all that spring ball. But Jaylen George is somebody who I think can be just very productive. Kind of like he's kind of just like Cameron Lenhardt 2.0, like reincarnated. Like, not a good pass rusher. He'll get pressures, but he just won't bring you down. That's his thing. Like, he has a lot of pressures. He had over 10 pressures last year. He just won't bring down the quarterback. But he's really, really good in the running game and has really a good motor and some good traits to him. So Jaylen George, the main thing for him is he's going to be a depth piece. We're not expecting him to start. That's okay. The only thing I'm looking out for him is when he's on the field, can he fill in the gaps for Cameron Lenhardt? Can he be a solid replacement? And can we see that potential where, if he breaks out in a big way, can he start going into his last year of eligibility next year? That's the only thing when it comes to Jaylen George. But I already feel like he's going to be a good run stopper. And also, it's just about him developing himself against Big Ten opponents. Like, he played against FCS guys last year. That's not the same as playing a 5-star offensive tackle at Penn State. So we'll see when it comes to Jaylen George. Pretty much, I could see a very high ceiling, low floor type of guy. Pretty much, that's my feeling on Jaylen George. Then Jordan Ochoa is somebody I need to mention. He could play jack for Nebraska, but really I think his true calling is going to be a 3 technique, 6'5", 290 pounds. Played great in the bowl game in the back half of the year. He was a walk-on originally for Nebraska. No longer is that the case because, he's really good. Jordan Ochoa is, once again, just a solid run stopper, but also has some nice traits in the pass rush, has a nice swim move we'll go back to. He was getting pressure after pressure in the bowl game. So kind of a hidden gem here in Nebraska they did click on. I could very well see Jordan Ochoa as the year progresses. He might be the 4th or 5th best player on this defensive line. He might even be in the mix to start. They really like his game. They feel like he's going to be kind of a hidden gem once again that kind of continues to reap the benefits from. So, like Jordan Ochoa, wanted to mention him. Then Gabe Moore, transfer from Mississippi State. Athletic freak nose tackle, can also play 3 technique. I think he's going to be nose tackle, but 6'5", 290 pounds, did not play any of his 2 seasons with Mississippi State. Redshirted in 2023, then last year sat out the entire year due to family issues. But Gabe Moore is somebody who, there's a lot of injury concerns there, but you watch his high school film, and he's just making play after play. Like, he's so freakishly athletic where, again, very high potential, high risk, high reward. There is a scenario where Gabe Moore never plays it down at Nebraska. There's also a scenario where he starts next year and is really dominant. Like, I love his potential, but it's just, this is the case with the entire defensive line. We'll see if it actually turns out to be that way. But I loved his high school film. It's nuts. Just take some time to watch out on the screen because it is absolutely crazy when it comes to Gabe Moore. But hopefully he can live up to expectations. Should be noted in spring ball, he didn't play very well. He was not in the top 2 or 3 deep. So I want to give you that update around Gabe Moore. Sua Lefotu is somebody who's interesting. He was at all of spring ball, but former 3-star recruit going into his 3rd year with the Big Red. Really, really good out of high school. Very similar to Gabe Moore, where he was very athletic. He was making play after playing California, but he had so many injuries, and he's been injured his entire career with the Huskers, where I like Sua Lefotu. I think he can be a game-changing Polynesian nose tackle, but can he finally stay healthy? Because he's literally never stayed healthy his entire career. That's the only thing when it comes to Sua. But man, he is dominant. He was dominant in high school tape, man. Really, really good. But just stay healthy. Please stay healthy. Because the coaching staff loves him. They always talk about Sua Lefotu. Just a big, bruising nose tackle. Everything you'd expect coming out of California as a Polynesian. Then a couple other guys I want to mention before we get to the true freshman. David Hoofkin. Fan favorite out of Germany. What is he, like 6'7", 260 pounds? Just absolute freak. He's going into his 2nd year. He has 3 more years after that. Listen, David Hoofkin is super, super impressive physically. He looks like a grown man. He literally is a grown man. He's like 22 years old. My main thing with him is that I just don't think defensive line's the best position for him. I think he's honestly better fit to be an offensive tackle just with his long arms, with the way he's built. I think he's better to be an offensive tackle. So we'll see if Nebraska ends up making that switch. But David Hoofkin's somebody really, really like, but so raw, and I just don't know if it's ever going to work out. Mason Goldman's somebody who doesn't really have super high potential, I'd say, but he had a decent spring ball. And honestly, when I was at the spring game, Mason Goldman was making play after play, getting to the quarterback a couple times. So he had a nice little spring. We'll see if Mason Goldman makes the impact. That was a former 3-star out of Gretna. And then Ashton Murphy out of Elkhorn South. He's going to his 2nd year. Had a little bit of some injuries last year, but once again, had a very, very good spring game when I was there. So watch out for that name, but pretty much at the back half of this D-line. If Ashton Murphy's playing in meaningful snaps, probably not a very good thing for this unit. And then talking about the true freshman, Kade Pietrzak is somebody who I think is going to shock a lot of Nebraska fans when fall camp rolls around. And this is a guy who was a 4-star recruit, #1 player in North Dakota, 6'4", 260 pounds. Huskers beat out Oklahoma, Wisconsin, Kansas State to earn his talents. Nebraska wanted him as badly as any other player in last year's class. Matt Rule, famously said in Big Ten Media Days that if they did not land Kade Pietrzak, he would lose sleep. That's how badly he wanted him. He's a guy who's just a standard Big West, or Big Ten defensive lineman, right? He just wants to get dirty. He wants to get, in your face as an offensive tackle, as an offensive guard. He can play both 3 technique and a nose tackle spot. So Kade Pietrzak, man, really, really good run stopper. He also played offensive tackle in high school. He just did literally everything, but super, super athletic. Also kind of like Ty Robinson in a way. But they love these guys. Corn-fed boys who just make impacts. Really, really like Kade Pietrzak, and this is somebody who they kind of expect to have a Keona Davis type year where, he shows up in August for the first time and just starts balling out and says, hey, we got to put this guy in the field because he's just a game changer. So watch out for Mr. Kade Pietrzak. Then Malcolm Simpson is somebody who really blew up at his senior year. Nebraska got him committed in July, but we're lucky we did because there's some big-time schools that got involved very late there. 6'3", 255-pound going to probably be a 3 technique for the Huskers. Again, once again, has that positional flexibility, which is something that they like from all these players. But, Malcolm Simpson, just a ferocious big nasty. Like, he is somebody who wants to hurt you. He wants to hurt you. He wants to destroy you. He wants to end your career. Like, I mean that very seriously. And I love that. That's what I want in Nebraska. I want guys who are just mean. I don't want nice guys on the defensive line. I want guys who are going to hurt, opposing quarterback or running back. So Malcolm Simpson is that way. Man, he's a guy who will lay the boom on you. Very, very developed in the running game. Not the greatest pass rush in the world. So, yeah, that's something that's kind of a common theme with some of the other guys. But, man, he will get to the running back and he will get you down. So very excited about Malcolm Simpson. I don't expect him to play this year, though. He needs to put on weight. That's just the big thing with him. Like, you're not going to play on the defensive line at 255. No, you're just not, especially if you want to be a nose tackle. So I don't think he'll play this year. I could see him maybe the back half of the year, but I doubt it. I doubt when it comes to Malcolm Simpson. And then last but not least, Tyson Terry is somebody who, once again, another fan favorite coming out of Omaha North, 4-star recruit, number 3 player in all of Nebraska, 6'2", 280 pounds. He is definitely going to be a nose tackle for the Big Red. He was a 4-time all-state wrestler. He won state championships back to back. So Tyson Terry, they literally compare him to Nash because it's the same background, it's the same weight, it's literally the same everything. He is just like Nash. The thing about Tyson Terry, though, is that he blew out his ACL the back half of last year's football season. He didn't get that repaired until February because he wanted to win a state title for wrestling. So Tyson Terry, it's been announced that he will be out all of this season for Nebraska, won't be practicing at all. So Tyson Terry will have a good year with. I think he's gonna have a good career with us. He's gonna kind of like Nash, where you won't see him probably until year 4, year 5. But we're in for the long haul, Tyson. But man, some freak out upside with his wrestling ability. You like that from Mr. Tyson Terry. All right, guys, that's the defensive line for Nebraska. Let's sit down and have a conversation about how good it really is. Are there some problems? Are there some concerns? Now, the thing about this defensive line is just there's not a lot of production. There's not a lot of proven players. And that was one thing where, we go back to December of last year. That's what I wanted from the portal. I wanted a proven 3 technique who could rush the passer. We just didn't get that. We got 3 players in the portal. We got Nwaneri, who's a former 5-star, but unproven. We got Jaylen George, while he was proven in FCS ball, doesn't mean it's going to be that way in Big Ten ball. And then we got Gabe Moore, who's just kind of a high upside, high risk, high upside type of guy. So we just didn't really address defensive line the way I wanted to in the portal, given the fact that we lost so many players. And that's kind of showing up right now when we're going through this deep dive. There's just a lot of ifs. There's a lot of ifs. If Cameron Lenhardt can break out, if Riley Poppel can be the player that we expect, if Keona Davis can at least a little bit live up to the Ndamukong Suh references, if Nwaneri can be that 5-star we thought he was going to be. A lot of ifs, not a lot of provens. That concerns me, especially with a very big position like defensive line, that if you don't have a good defensive line, it will screw you over in Big Ten play. You'll get pushed around. Okay. It is the most important position in the Big Ten, not named quarterback. It might just be more important than quarterback in the Big Ten. Okay. So it is concerning, but I will say a couple things. I think Terry Bratton is going to really shape up this unit. He's a great developer. It's been that way since the Chiefs. That's the reason why they brought him in. I think that there's, again, a lot of potential in that room. Guys who can take step forwards. If Cameron Lenhardt can just be the guy that we want him to be, if Nwaneri can be a great pass rusher off the bench, if Keona Davis can continue to develop, I feel a lot better about it. But again, just a lot of ifs. Overall, my final grade for this defensive line, it's a C. Just a solid C. Just a solid C. Nothing more, nothing less. That's okay. You'll take that every single day of the week. Or I'm kidding. You will not take that every single day of the week. But, it's not as bad as some people are saying. It's not one of the worst in the Big Ten. I don't think it's going to be that way at all. But I'll tell you this, if it lives up to expectations, if Nwaneri breaks out, if all these ifs happen, it has the ability to be probably A- at best. Now, on the exact same side, if all these things don't happen and Cameron Lenhardt maybe has another stinker year and Riley Poppel has some injuries or whatever, it has the ability to potentially be one of the worst defensive lines in the Big Ten, and that's where we have a lot of issues. And that's where, that can really derail our season, where we're expecting to potentially win 9-10 games. We might end up only winning 6 because the defensive line can't get to the quarterback, and that's a big issue in and of itself. So that's my grade, C. It is an issue. We're hoping a lot of guys can step up. I'm not raving the red flag just yet, but definitely something to watch as fall ball begins in late July. All right, guys, let me know your thoughts down below about everything. What you're thinking about the defensive line. Are you bullish on it? Are you waving the red flag? I'm not there yet, but maybe you are. Let me know in the comment section. Once again, if you made this far, hit that like button and subscribe. As always, folks, go grab, go rule, and I'll see you in the next one.